Hello again, welcome back. This is video 16 of the Flow Certified Coach training course that we have. And in this video, we're going to look at the key tools for each of the leadership lenses. And remember, the four lenses are individual, team, product, and organization. Today we have Glenn Ligori with us again, who's going to be walking us through that. And I'm going to have Glenn introduce himself on the next slide.
So hello everybody, Glenn Ligori, again, FCT, I as an internal trainer for ZF, global automotive manufacturer, a very large company. I lead a team called IT Innovations Methods Incubation and a group of method coaches globally. And in all my other introductions, I haven't given props to that group because they are an amazing group of coaches. Andrew Henwood and Brandon Schrum are also part of this network right now, hopefully getting the rest of the guys through it. So,
and they'll actually be doing some additional teach backs for us.
Yeah, right, right, perfect. So you'll get to know Andrew because he's a teacher, and Brandon is similar to me. We have the same profiles. So
awesome.
So today we're going to talk about these tools that we use through the lenses, the 4R model, the 4D model in both the team and the product spaces, and then how do we look at this continuum from the coaching to the management consulting side in the organization. So we look at those lenses, then we see that what we're talking about is how do these tools, I often in my work just refer to them as the models, within each lens. Yeah. And so if we briefly talk about what they are, I can talk about some examples. At the individual level, when we're talking about individuals, if I'm looking at who's going to be on my team, for example, I need to look at those individuals. And at the center of that, of course, is what is their vision, or what is their spirit? How do they as individuals know where they're going? Do they have a vision? Do they just go through life randomly? Maybe, hopefully they have a vision. And so we want to make sure that they have this truth about themselves. Do they understand themselves? We hear this in a lot of other teaching facets, like, do they understand who they really are? I can remember in high school, one of my first a class I'll never forget, and it was titled, "Who Are You?"
That's a great title.
That was the title of the class, and there was a few people in there, like always, everybody was joking, "Who are you? Who are you? I don't know." But then from that, what are your values? What are your attitudes? Do you carry those values and attitudes throughout the day, throughout your work, everything you do? What are the actions? Do they have the right actions? If the actions are opposite, contradictory to your values and attitudes, then there's going to be a problem because your actions don't match. Ultimately, then people will see that, right? Mm-hmm. And then ultimately that leads to the right results. So this 4R model as an individual ensures that we have the right people, as we say in the flow friction analysis. Do we have the right people? Yeah. Because if they meet all of these, then we truly have the right people. Then when we go into the team as well as the product, we're looking at this ultimately the same model, but we have to think through that, again, that lens. In the team, do we as a team define the work or the processes or whatever it is that we're talking about? Do we define them properly in our language, in a common language? Do we distill the agreement so that we get to an understanding of what that is, so that we can ultimately deliver it and then be able to drive back through that cycle, if you will? All of that, of course, at the center is the vision, right? If we don't have the vision, we don't have any of the ability to speak to the definition and the agreements. We do this quite often in our team, I will say, as an example, or as a good practice. I don't like the words best practices because I've yet to meet anybody who has a best practice. A good practice for us is that we're constantly challenging each other. Wait a minute, I don't know. I don't think I define that word that way. Or tell me what you mean by that so we can come to an agreement. Oh, now we're there. Great. Well, how are we going to deliver on that? For example, we're even challenging our own vision statement right now, right?
Excellent.
Group, our group vision statement is still zero friction, zero friction. Very simple. How do we reduce the friction points in the work that people do? And then through that, how are we delivering our mission? At the product level, again, how does say a product owner look at this? Does he or she define what it is that needs to be is within the vision as well as the work to be done, and then work through that same cycle? Yeah, there's no different to just work through that cycle. And if anything's missing, then you get into the anti-patterns that we spoke about in the previous video of inform to act. Finally, at the organizational level, it's this sort of infinity loop of, we have the agile coaching on the one side, where we can think about how do we do innovation, this nebulous term of innovation. What does that really mean from a coaching perspective, and how do we build up anticipatory vision for the organization? And then on the other side, on the right side, this management consulting. How do we drive operational excellence alongside the coaching? Right? These things go hand in hand, and they're not exclusionary, right? One doesn't exist without the other in that sense. And then we have to make sure, as it shows in this little model, that we have VSBT in mind. If we're thinking and communicating through the VSBT model, then we ensure that people recognize which side of the equation we're on. If I'm coaching you, it's different from just being a consultant. I was in a conversation, it was either earlier today or yesterday, where it spoke very, very similar to this. They spoke about, well, not all consultants are coaches, and not all coaches are consultants.
Exactly.
It's quite true, right? They do stand on their own, but when we put it in the light of this model, if I can step into a role and recognize the need of the other side, right, then I'm going to be more valuable. I'm going to be more valuable to that executive to say, well, tell me what your vision is, and how does that ultimately lead to more operational excellence, because I just did that as a coach, right? That's that fun balance. I love that. So again, in this model, a couple other things to take note are there on the outside, that, on that individual aspect, the autonomy, mastery, and purpose, that comes from Dan Pink in his writing and Drive. Dan Pink's written 5, 6 other books, and so he's got a ton. I've got an autographed version of one of his books somewhere
Awesome.
over here as well, which is fun. And then from the team aspect, like, how does the team, how are they facilitated? Through their coaches, through their scrum master, right? The role of a scrum master is usually as a coach. So how do we handle that, and how do we facilitate that? At a product level, the coaching, how does a coach come in and help work with the overall, not only the scrum masters, but the product owners as well? And then going into that higher enterprise agile coaching at the organizational aspect. It's key there again, and it's a tough one to bake into a lot of people who think coach, consultant.
Yeah.
How do I balance that? That's the key.
Yeah, exactly. And even the management consulting, agile coaching element, the first time I ran into that was about 7 years ago. I was working with a company called Solutions IQ, which was later bought by Accenture. And they were out on the West Coast there in Seattle, Tacoma, somewhere out there. But we had probably 40 coaches and consultants in the room, and they were really going at it with each other. And it felt like a very either or conversation. And I'm watching the tennis match going back and forth. Finally, I just looked at them and I said, guys, it's not an either or, it's a both and. And the room just went, ooh. Everybody stopped. And then that's where we talk where we first got that almost cascading vision picture, except that it's one of the first times where we delineated between the language of the team or management versus the language of leadership, which is what management consultants will speak. And everybody in the room was just blown away because they realized that, oh, we're speaking two different languages, and it's not an either or, it's a both and, depending on what we're running into. And as you were talking, I was thinking, wow, we could really take the 4D model and put it underneath here, underneath both sides of the infinity curve, because you use the 4D to help define and distill the operational excellence. And you're also going to use the 4D model for innovation and for anticipatory vision. So there were a lot of thoughts that were running around in my head as you were
Well,
sharing.
in there, you know, I see, and I've been seeing it quite a bit in certain examples. I won't go into detail of the examples, but where I see people, well, here's a great idea. Why don't you try this and, you know, do this model and do that model and change things this way? That's consulting. That's just, here you go. Here's
Mhm.
something. Try it.
Experiment. Yeah.
Yeah, but the coach is kind of saying, well, let's analyze it a little bit more. Let's look at it through our lenses, through our vision, through our understanding, through our 4Ds, through our flow friction, all those elements, and challenge
Yeah.
to make it work better,
Yeah.
to take it to
Exactly.
that high performing. Like there's so much more that the coach will do. Um, that that's where we're challenging a lot of groups to say, what are you doing with that? How are you really doing that? So
Well,
yeah.
and that actually goes back to one of the other tiles where we have the roles and we go through what each of the roles are basically doing, whether it's a Scrum Master, team level facilitator, or if it's an Agile coach, or if it's the Enterprise Agile coach. They sort of build on each other. And we follow Lisa Adkins'
Nice.
Agile Coaching Institute.
I just got to know Lisa over the last few days. She was part of something I was in, and so got to hear her and learn more about her. And I've been meaning to read her book, and you know,
It's a
trying
good
to
book. I have it.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
in my
So there's a
library
great
upstairs.
community. Yeah, there's a good community of folks that are related to her, and I'm looking forward to learning more there because of the Agile Coaching Institute and what she and Michael Spade are doing. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, really good. I got to meet both of them 2013 at the Scrum Gathering in Las Vegas. And and that's really the first time I had seen the I, we, it, it's.
Mm.
But you've noticed we've since changed it and we don't do the same pattern anymore. And so really it creates a U-shaped pattern, both you as an individual and you for unified.
Mm.
And so unifying the vision between all four lenses.
Yeah, I never thought about that U is unified. Good, well
Yeah.
done. I never thought of it that way.
That
Okay,
was Brother Dan actually that came up with this new reorder.
that's a new one
I
for
only
me.
had to fix some 500 slides.
Nothing. That's nothing.
I'm such a whiner. Awesome.
So if we wrap it up, you know, it comes back to, hey, how do you make sure that you're speaking and thinking through each of those lenses with the different models? Again, that 4R model for the individuals, the 4D at team and product, and the infinity loop. It's as it says, a holistic mindset. If I heard today, if you just read a book and watch a bunch of videos, you are not an expert. You have to think through and apply these. You see Cowboys barking now,
Yeah.
and bring it into real life. Actually, bring it into the setting so that you can try it out. And that I do like that it's the only one that's ultimately agnostic. It's not saying, well, we're going to go this one, this actual model or that model. It's a base of models that you can see at different stages, and you can apply, and you can still bring about a lot of change through each.
Yeah, exactly. So it includes the mindset tool sets for scaling, which is
Mhm.
also probably in one of, well, it's actually in one of the first videos that we did to introduce this whole Flow Certified Coach series. And then what most companies miss is for rollout, which is a part of scaling. You have to customize it and tailor it to the activities and needs and culture of that organization. And so it's really good. And it was really good having you with today, Glenn. I really appreciate it. You're one of our
You?
star trainers, and I appreciate all your
Well, hopefully
efforts.
some other folks will see us, see me or my team, in other things in the future. So thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you.
So once again, thanks, and look forward to seeing you in other videos and events as we move forward. Thanks again.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks.